My name is Peter McAuslan, the president of the McAuslan Brewing Company and founder of the McAuslan Brewing Company in Montreal, Quebec. The company was founded in 1988. We started brewing early in 1989 with a draft-only Saint-Amoise Pale Ale was our first beer, and within 6 months we had a packaging line. We were starting to distribute in Quebec, particularly in Montreal. The brewery since then has grown to 10 or so different beers. We have 100 staff, whereas when we started there were 4 of us. We're distributed pretty much everywhere in Canada. We're in the United States, and we have a few European countries where our products are present as well. When we started brewing in 1989, the Saint-Amoise Pale Ale was very, very different from anything else in the Quebec market. Of course, at that time there were only Labatt, Molson and O'Keeffe products available, and so we had decided at that point to make something that was very, very different based on flavor profile, hop character, etc. And we succeeded. Today, of course, the beer doesn't seem as extreme as it did back then, just because of the development of the industry. We have a philosophy of making very well crafted products. They are craft beers. They're designed for consumers who want to drink something out of the ordinary. We get a great deal of pride and pleasure from brewing special products. We're not interested in just having volume for volume's sake. We're interested in making interesting beer for interested beer consumers. As many small brewers did back in the 1980s, they were founded by home brewers, which was my case. And the first beers that we launched were beers that we personally liked, and I was attracted to the beers that you found in the north of England, throughout Great Britain, the bitters, the ales that had significant character. And we decided we'd brew that style of beer, and we would take it a few steps further. And so that's how we selected the first beer style. The second beer we brewed was our oatmeal stout. That was also something that perhaps had not been brewed in this country for perhaps 100 years. And so we were both mining brewing history in Canada and being very much in the avant-garde by coming out with a product like that. Once again, we didn't do any market research in either case. We just felt that we would find interested consumers, and those people would be our sales force, and that's how it worked out. We did use a marketing firm. They suggested we make a pale North American style lager. I instantly knew that their advice was wrong, and we instantly ignored their advice. Subsequent to that, we've made, in the early 90s, we came out with Griffin Extra Pale Ale, Griffin Russ, Griffin Red Ale. They were beers which sort of predated what the Molson people have done with the Rickards family. We were perhaps 10 years ahead of them on that. We made a series of seasonal beers, fruit beers, strong ales, Scotch ales. We made a barley wine. We made this raspberry ale. A lot of those recipes were developed also in the early 1990s, and those products are still with us today, including our apricot wheat ale, which is distributed quite widely across the country. So when we design beers, there's a couple of things that go into mix. One, are we interested in doing it? Will we like it ourselves, people in the brewery? Will the brewers find it interesting to do? 2, do we think that will translate to interest by the craft brewing consumer community? And those are really the 2 things that we estimate. We don't do detailed research to find out whether in fact there will be interest. We just kind of say, we think this will work. And by and large it has. I think our products have been accepted as leaders within the craft brewing movement in this country. So that's kind of how we do things. We have stayed in the ale making tradition. We do not make a lager. We do brew lagers in this facility, but they're not our brands. We brew Moosehead, and we brew another product for our partners, but they're lagers, and that doesn't really appeal to us as brewers at McAuslan. We have established our name in large part by the fact that our beers have been recognized internationally in a lot of different sorts of competitions. In fact, we just in the last week have won six medals for our beers, 6 different beers and 6 different medals, 4 golds, a silver, and a bronze. That's been important in creating credibility for who we are as brewers, and consumers do rely for guidance upon those organizations that give medals. So that's been very important as a part of our strategy. We have won a number of awards at the World Beer Cup, which is a very important international competition that takes place most of the time in the U.S. The one award that immediately comes to mind was the gold medal we won, the gold award we won at that competition a number of years ago. I don't recall the date, but Charlie Papazian, who was a very important person in the development of the small brewery movement in North America, wrote a book and selected that beer and put the recipe in it and published it in his book. So not only did we win that award, but it ended up having a recipe, a replication in a book written by Charlie, and that of course is an accolade of the highest order. The Canadian Brewing Awards have become increasingly important for brewers across the country. I think that the organization that runs those awards has become more and more credible as they get more and more trained tasters and therefore more effective real results for both brewers and consumers. And well, we won 2 golds, a silver and a bronze in that competition this past weekend. So those are very satisfying, and it's really just nice to see competent competitions for beers coming to maturity within Canada. We've traditionally come up with a new beer a year, which is not always brewed every year, but that's kind of been what we've done in the last several years anyway. And we probably will do another beer this year, possibly a very strong product. It's going to be a form of stout. I don't want to give out much further details because, quite frankly, there's parts of it we haven't decided upon yet. But it probably will be a single batch. It may be as few as about 1,000 cases, and it's something that could be cellared, but it's also something that could be drunk immediately. And we think it'll be a very interesting and nice product. So I don't want to go much beyond that at this stage because we haven't made it yet.
We normally don't have all of this bag grain on the floor here. It's being shipped down to down the Holton Brew House area. So the large tanks you see over there are cylindrical conical vessels in which we brew lagers. The large vessels here are post fermentation, in some cases post-filtration tanks to hold beer that's about to be packaged, either draft or bottle or can, as we're now about to do. The section over here is our filtration unit. Very large looking beast there. I can't remember how many square meters of filtration we have, but it's substantial. We filter all of our beers as minimally as we can. A product such as our oatmeal stout, for example, we only use diatomaceous filtration. We don't use any other filtration. Most of our beers is only diatomaceous filtration now because the brew house is very clean. Our control of infection bacteria is absolute. And that requires minimal filtration. So we don't have to use extremely tight antibacteriological filtration. We just want to take out the yeast and the large chunks of protein that may be hovering in the finished product.